Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Manic Movie Misfits podcast. I am 50% of this podcast, John Phillips.
And I'm the other 50%, Brett Michaels.
Hello, Brett. Nice to meet you. I'm glad. I didn't know my co-host was Brett. But
yeah, I'm famous singer of Poison and host of Rock of Love, the greatest reality TV show to hit VH1.
Did you have these on the set?
We did.
I was going to do this for this episode and the last episode, but I forgot. So
yeah,
there you go.
Now you're getting them in.
Yep.
In actuality, I am Trevor. I'm the other half.
You're Val Kilmer from Heat.
Yeah.
You've just decided to grow out the beard a little more, but other than that, you're Val Kilmer from Heat, and you don't have the ponytail.
I don't. I can put it up in a ponytail, but I don't have a hairband.
Yeah, maybe you need to start talking like Val Kilmer from Heat too.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have a crippling gambling addiction?
Not yet. I have yet to go to Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, you don't attack your wife because you don't have a wife.
I don't have a wife.
So that's
a good start.
Good start. Okay, so that's you're not Val Kilmer from Heat, which is good. We don't want that to happen, but
yeah.
Although for views maybe, but
yeah,
and listens. So I'm not saying you should be Val Kilmer from Heat. I'm just saying you should be Val Kilmer from Heat, so we can get views and money.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So find a wife. Actually, you know what? We're never mind. We're not going to go down that road. We're not going to go down that road. Excuse me. We're not going to go down that road.
No, we're not.
We are going to go down the road.
The only road that I've ever known.
TJ, I just had a perfect transition, and you ruined it.
You don't like my Green Day references?
Not when I'm in the middle of a perfect transition.
Okay, fair enough.
And then, but I appreciate your contributions on this podcast. Just at that moment, I was about to have the most fire transition, but
all right,
it's okay.
Fair enough.
It's okay. We love all the references on this podcast, so it's okay. It's all good. But as I was saying, we are going to go down the road of discussing Mission Impossible. I said that this has happened twice.
It has?
Mission Impossible, I did it on the last podcast, Dead Reckoning Part 1. We're going to discuss that in a spoiler-free and spoiler-filled fashion. And then we are going to rank the 7 Mission Impossible movies. And I don't think there's going to be a ton of arguing, because TJ and I believe, have similar opinions on these movies, but it might get interesting. So We'll see. I managed to rewatch all of them. TJ, we just rewatched the 5th one.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty good memory. You do have a brain, so that helps.
I do. That's a start.
So you have a decent memory, so you can remember what you can from those. And we'll rank them. And we'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, TJ, I will open up this discussion by saying, what is something that stood out to you with Mission Impossible 7? And we can go from there.
That it's a good movie.
Okay. It's a good movie. That is facts. That is facts. Yes.
I mean, it's an overall good Mission Impossible movie. You can't go wrong. I mean, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, they've nailed down what it means to be a good Mission Impossible movie.
They have it down to a science. They really do.
Pretty much at this point. And like I think it's a good addition to their little lineup of, because this would be their 3rd, so their mini trilogy of new movies together. So I think it's a good addition. Is it the best one of their work? I don't think so.
I would agree. Not obviously, we're not trying to spoil the rankings, but I would agree.
Yeah, but I think it's a damn good movie. I mean, seeing it in the theaters, I think it's an essential. If you're going to watch it now. Don't hold out.
And kind of joining our discussion about superhero movies and superhero fatigue from last podcast episode.
Yeah.
These are kind of movies. The Mission Impossibles and stuff are awesome because they have that franchise quality and that big box office quality, but they aren't superhero movies. And to see Mission Impossible still being prominent, making all this money, and rivaling the money that the Marvel movies make is great.
Oh yeah, I mean, Mission Impossible has always been something that's like it's always an event. I mean, I remember when Fallout was coming out, and it was a whole thing. I mean, Fallout was I feel like it was like the biggest movie
I believe it made the most money out of it.
Yeah, as of now, it's the biggest earner. But I mean, like, I feel like in the last few years, like, in terms of like last 3 or 4 Mission Impossibles, it's definitely like hit the hardest in terms of pop culture relevancy. And it's not just because like Henry Cavill's in it, and Henry Cavill's a huge star and stuff like that. But I feel like it was just like it nailed down what like it meant to be like a late 2000s action movie.
Yeah,
so good. And I think like this was like the next logical step from there.
Right.
And it was really good in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and again we can save a lot of this for
later,
the rankings, but there's things in that one that to me this movie does not do. And
yeah.
I guess I don't want to go right into the negatives, but I have a perfect opportunity to, so we're going to do that.
Might as well.
One of my problems with this movie that was showing in Fallout but didn't quite get there was the large cast, having such a large cast. And with this one, when you add Haley Atwell and Palm Clementoff and a few others, and then also giving the characters that you introduced in Fallout bigger roles, what ends up happening is all these different characters are grabbing for screen time, and actors are grabbing for screen time. And when that happens, you lose a personal touch that, to me, made some of the Mission Impossible movies before so great.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the other ones before this, I mean, it's a group of 4 people. That's it. And I mean, Fallout's still pretty balanced. I mean, it's 4 for most of the movie, I'd say. And then I think, do they add a 5th person at the end?
For Fallout?
I guess there's 5, because it'd be at this. Well, I guess because it'd be Henry Cavill, Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, and then Rebecca Ferguson. But people interweave and stuff like that. So
right, they're not like throughout the beginning. They're not like what a large chunk of this Dead Reckoning cast was, which was from beginning to end. Like they were in that group, specifically Cavill, and I think Cavill kind of drops off, like leaves at points.
Well, I mean, it still keeps a group of 4 the entire movie, but the thing is, like it ebbs and flows, like with villains and like Rebecca Ferguson and stuff like that. Yeah. So like it's constantly changing and evolving, but it's still keeping that tight group. And I think that's a good thing about the movie, in my opinion.
For which one are we talking about?
For Fallout.
Right.
Where it's like, I think it's still tight, but also it's like it keeps you engaged, and it's like okay, this makes sense because we gotta have a group of 4, because that's Mission Impossible trope at this point. It's always a group of 4 people. You gotta do it. Dead Reckoning has a lot of damn people in it. it's a lot.
Yeah, it does, and because of that, it gets awkward at points, because, as I was saying, when you have these characters trying to grab screen time and make up for screen time that's missed because you have more characters in a scene, it gets. I don't know if you noticed this, but there were, at least in my opinion, there were points where characters would be saying like a lengthy chunk of dialogue that kind of ruined actually the momentum that I thought that the film had.
Yeah.
Because they weren't speaking at an earlier moment, and it felt like they were almost making up for it in a sense. And I noticed that a few times, and that kind of, especially after watching, like you were talking about, Fallout, or what we just watched, Rogue Nation, it hums so well. Yeah,
well, I mean, like, I think that is something intrinsically different about Dead Reckoning. It has a very different pacing. It's the way it moves and it flows is like it still has its like punchy Mission Impossible nature, but like it's a little more talky than some of the other ones are.
Yes.
Where I mean, like I always remember like Fallout and like Rogue Nation is. I mean, like most of them always being like really punchy. I mean, we paused Rogue Nation like 80 minutes in. It did not feel like 80 minutes.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
The first 80 minutes of that movie are like what most like movies are in general. Mm-hmm. But like that's a testament to how like quick moving and like how just like how good the pacing of the movie is.
Yeah.
Where with Dead Reckoning, it really takes its time in some ways. Like some parts of it are just really long. not in a bad way, but like it's just like it's a lot, and you're just like, all right, I get it. We can move on. We don't have to explain the same point 5 times.
Yeah.
Like I get AI. Okay, we don't have to talk about this for another 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's another. I don't find the AI thing to be that interesting.
I'm glad you brought that up, TJ. That's a good point to have, because we just came off of debatably the best villain in the Mission Impossible franchise. People kind of going back and forth between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Solomon Lane as Sean Harris as the best villains. I think, again, gosh, there's so many thoughts I want to talk about, but it would be really good for the rankings. I guess
at this point, let's just whatever.
Yeah, okay. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman is a better performer. Clearly, he's one of the best character actors of his. He's the best character actor of his generation, pretty much.
Yeah, one of, if not the best. Yeah.
So as a performance, he's better, but as a written character, I think Sean Harris's character is better.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a good.
Yeah, you would agree.
I think I like Philip Seymour Hoffman better.
No, but
just in general.
I mean, what do you? But
I think in terms of, for me, I think I like Philip Seymour Hoffman is number 1. I think he's the best villain in the series.
Performance, just overall,
I really like Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think he's used really well in the movie, and I think he's just like, even his I love his writing, and I think like he's so menacing, and because like Philip Seymour Hoffman, not a menacing looking man,
right? True.
He's I mean, like Sean Harris, he is a little more menacing looking. I
love how he carries himself in the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
Well, that scene
Lane
with Simon Pegg in the 5th one.
Ooh,
where that you genuinely are, and the scene like a couple scenes before when he's talking to Rebecca Ferguson's character.
Yeah,
and he has like his hand like on her face.
And
so
any
good.
scene with Solomon Lane is pretty good, because I mean like, so I mean just like you said, the presence of his character is just like it's so like eerie almost, because the way he like talks, and like it's very wistful and stuff like that, and it's how you actually do a character performance like that. Take notes, Eddie Redmayne. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch Jupiter Ascending just to see how awful Eddie Redmayne is in that movie. Anyway, that's one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
The last thing I'll say, because we do want to get to more Mission Impossible 7 stuff.
Yeah,
is for me the big problem with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is I don't know what his motivation is in that entire film. They never explain that.
Yeah, the whole thing with the rabbit's foot is very.
Yeah,
I think they briefly are like it's a nuclear thing, and that's the entire thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Which I think is a good thing and a bad thing, because it keeps it like it's simple, and it's like at one point it's just like it's gonna be a super it's gonna be a villain plot. We get it.
Right.
It's all the same. I mean, it's all, most of these movies are the same, where it's like big bad villain wants nuclear thing to destroy something. Ooh.
Yeah.
And I think at one point J.J. Abrams was probably just like, yeah, we get it. Let's just like not mosey into this like a billion times. So let's just like make it easy, and let's just be like, it's the rabbit's foot. Boom, done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is kind of being like, oh, what is the rabbit's foot?
Well, and why he wants it?
Why do you want it so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse in some ways. Where but like I love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh yeah,
I love that man so much.
It really is him and Sean Harris and everyone else.
Yeah,
so far
Cavill's pretty good, but like
that's true.
I don't think he has like the presence of everyone else.
To me, I view him as more of a sidekick, like a sidekick villain. Because I mean, Sean Harris is kind of still the main villain as far as like at least the way I saw it in Fallout was. But no, Cavill's great. Anyway, back to Mission Impossible 7.
Yeah.
Another thing that I will say. Oh wait, what were you bringing? Oh, you're bringing up AI. That's right.
Yes.
So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
What was nice about all the other and let me be clear. I think the AI thing is smart from the standpoint that's that's literally what we've been talking. The news has been all over the news for the last like year, basically.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect opportunity to.
It's a good idea.
A good idea. Have a villain. Have an AI as a villain because of how popular it is right now. How popular of a topic it is right now. However.
Yes. However.
That villain doesn't have a face, and when that villain doesn't have a face, a physical presence, to me it lacks. And you know why? And you know what? The filmmakers even knew that. Because they literally brought someone in to be the face of the AI. That guy, I don't know the actor's name.
Oh, I don't know the actor's name, but Gabriel. Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to have an actual physical villain in terms of like a henchman or something like that. But for me, it's just like, I don't know how to say this, but like, for Mission Impossible, I feel like AI should not be the main villain of a movie.
Yeah,
I feel like it should be a villain using AI. I just think like I think the idea of AI being the villain is really goofy. I think it's actually really laughable in a lot of ways.
It was kind of funny how they had that one sound effect, like that sort of like chuckling, like static effect that they used whenever they would talk about AI or they whenever they would show. Like whether any parts
the
of the
eye
AI
looking thing, yeah. And I mean, like, I get the eye looking thing is like the face of the what's it called?
The face of
the AI. What's it called?
Oh, what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember either.
But like, it's almost like it's just like it's really. I feel like it was too big for almost Mission Impossible, where it's just like Tom Cruise is taking on technology. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I like having AI as like villains. I mean, I love Ex Machina. It's probably one of my favorite movies ever.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Exactly. Like, I think like AI can be a villain, quote unquote, where it's like it's not really being bad. It's mostly just being logical. Like, in its own sense. But, like, in this one, it was just, like... I don't even feel like I get the AI's thing. It's just, like, AI is evil. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But, speaking of villains, I thought the Gabriel... I thought he was decent.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah. I was like, he got the job done.
Yeah.
I mean... he's not... Yeah, he doesn't really do much in the movie, if we're being honest. Which is kind of sad, because I think, like, given more time, I thought he could have been very interesting.
Yeah.
But I think, like, in all honesty, the most interesting villain is the side villain, a.k.a. Palm Clementine.
She is fantastic
in this movie. She's great in this movie.
She's one of the out of all the additions, she is easily one of the best.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's just, like, well, her presence is, like, it's kind of like Solomon Lane, where it's just, like, not a lot of words and like some things. It's just like it's a lot of just looks and like, and it's a very like quiet performance in some ways, but it's very loud in other ways. And I think like Palm Klementov just like she was a lot more interesting than Gabriel or the AI.
I loved her Christopher Walken-esque psychotic sort of energy that she carried.
Yeah, every time like she was on screen, my eyes would dart to her because I feel like she was like the biggest presence on screen for most of her scenes.
Her physical performance, when you include the facial expressions,
the stunts,
and the stunts, was basically as good as you could get.
Exactly. And like I personally think it was probably my favorite edition of the movie.
Interesting. I have mine, and we can talk about that in a second. But why? So I mean, I guess you kind of explained why. From
I just like. I think the energy and like I think just the role in terms of the movie was just like, or her role in the movie was just like, she did it really well.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I think, I do honestly wish she was in the movie a little longer. Then again, I think that just comes down to the villains.
Well,
because
it also comes to our point that we were discussing at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
When you have such a large cast, it
exactly
kind of run into screen time problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, like, it was just one of those things where it's like, I feel like the physical villains of the movie, they're not in the movie for that long. in some ways. I mean, like they're honestly in the background of a lot of scenes, which is kind of sad because I mean they're not. They're very. They could be very interesting, but yeah, I think that was one of my main problems with the movie. Is like we needed more villain other than just like big foreboding AI shots.
Yeah, and it doesn't help too when your AI is trying to replace such a great performance from Sean Harrison and Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
I mean Henry Cavill's a fan favorite and deservedly so, and Sean Harris putting as far as. Again, building a villain, he is the best built villain in the Mission Impossible franchise.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's the only one that's bridged movies.
That's true, too. So he has that time. We have that time with him and that foundation with him.
Yeah.
And also the way he was able to affect the backstories and the main stories of the characters that we come to love. Mostly, obviously, is Rebecca Ferguson's character. We just watched the movie. Is it Ilsa?
Mm-hmm.
It's Ilsa. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't... For some reason, I always want to go to Elsa, but...
Close. Yeah.
It's Ilsa. It's with an I, I'm pretty sure.
It is with an I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but yeah, you're like... It's practically like the same name, but I think it's just with an I.
Yeah. Ilsa Fouts, I think. Faust.
Faust. F-A-U-S-T.
Yeah, I think so. Ilsa...
I can spell.
And so anyway, yeah, that's part of the reason why he's so great is because that he has that deep connection with
the
character, one of the main characters that we end up loving.
Yeah.
And so that makes him even more menacing. And going back to Gabriel, he technically has that, although it runs into one of my biggest gripes in films, which is when a film later on in a franchise or a trilogy or whatever will introduce a backstory that we never heard of in order to heighten and the danger and the importance of a villain.
Yeah.
And they did that. Actually, didn't they do that with Guardians? Yes, they did that with Guardians, actually.
They do?
Because a lot of the rocket stuff, it suddenly shows up in Guardians 3, and that was one of my biggest problems with Guardians 3, because it's like, I want that backstory earlier, and we get that with Ethan Hunt. We randomly find out that Ethan Hunt apparently had a love interest that was killed by Gabriel before he joined the IMF. That just came out of left field. There was no reference to that in any of the prior Mission Impossible movies, as far as I can remember.
There isn't.
There isn't.
No.
And obviously that's to get our emotions. Again, TJ, I don't know about you. It didn't work for me because there wasn't that foundation from prior films. And so that's just another part of that villain thing that doesn't work with Gabriel.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stacks up.
But. Yeah. In regards to like the backstory thing, I like the idea of trying to characterize Ethan Hunt because I mean like, or at least like try and do something with like being like, you know, he's not just like a guy that hangs off of airplanes. He's a dude.
Of course.
But I mean, like, they already did that with Mission Impossible 3.
Yep. Which was really effective. That's one of the parts that I thought was fantastic about 3.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like, yeah, but I think it's just one of those things where it's like, they reinvented the series later, so we got to do it again. And it's just like, why? I get you're kind of on a new warpath with this series, but like, at the same time, acknowledge that like you've already done something like this, and I get that you're trying to characterize Ethan and in trying to make him more of a person and less of a Tom Cruise hanging off of airplanes kind of man.
Yeah.
Even though that's practically what he is in a lot of ways. But like, yeah, it doesn't work in a lot of ways where it's just like, oh yeah, randomly, here's this, and I that is one thing that always has driven me crazy about long running movie franchises. Fast and Furious is, I think, the king of that, and
the best movie franchise is what you're trying to say.
Oh, something like that. Yeah, where it's like, I mean, like Fast and Furious 9, Dom has a brother.
Yeah.
Oh.
And his name is John Cena.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Mission Impossible, I think, did it a little more tastefully, at least, in terms of, Yeah.
Well, Mission Impossible was going to do anything
more tastefully than Fast
and the Furious.
That is true. That is a dumb statement of mine.
No, but you're right. It's a correct statement.
But yeah, I like the idea of it. I would rather they did it either A, sooner, B, in a way that mattered more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say the editing of that piece and the way they splice it into the film itself is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as we have been highlighting, you got to do it earlier to actually get some emotional stakes developed.
Yeah.
Earlier. They don't do that.
No.
And speaking of, well, actually, we haven't have we gotten any deep spoilers yet? We haven't really. No, we haven't. Okay.
We've kept it pretty surface level.
Yeah. Let's, before we get into spoilers, maybe you want to talk about stunts and stuff?
Stunts are awesome.
Because we can talk about obviously the cliff jump off the bike, because that was the promo for the movie. It was literally released a year ago, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. The promo was. And I think that is a testament, because I will say, TJ, we saw this movie together, you and I did, with my brother.
Yeah.
And I loved that they added no score to that jump.
I think that's just one thing that these movies do really well. So they actually know how to cut out music and make things more intense through that. And they actually know how to use music well. And like in reference to like Guardians 3, where it was like, we're just gonna use music because this is like the opposite of that, where it's like we're gonna use music where we need to, because that's how movies should be
in a world where that doesn't really happen as often as it used to.
Exactly. Yeah. But
yeah, it's a great point. And when we were in the theater and the jump happened without the score, you could hear everyone gasping. In the theater with us, and it was really cool. TJ and I were actually laughing, not because it was funny, but just because of how insane and just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not laugh in disbelief that Tom Cruise would jump off of a cliff with a motorcycle like 7 times just for a stunt. Like, that's just Tuesday for him. Like,
yeah,
and I mean, he does a lot of crazy shit to begin with. So I mean, like, are we surprised? No. Is it still awesome? Hell yeah.
Yeah. I need to get for me, it was Tuesday soundboard button on this for the podcast.
I said that a lot today. I don't know why.
That's why I need to make a sound button for it, so you can save your voice. I can just
Oh yeah.
Hit the button. But no, it was, and I guess the point I was eventually trying to get to with specifically the jump off the cliff is for us to have that kind of reaction after already seeing what he does is a testament to just how incredible
how incredible Tom Cruise
are,
and his stunts
and obviously we want to shout out the stunt coordinators and everything. The whole Christopher McQuarrie, because him and Tom Cruise talk about what stunts they want to do. Supposedly, for those that don't know, they're hinting at going to space for this next Mission Impossible movie, which TJ and I have talked about would actually technically make sense, because AI, satellites, that could be a thing.
Hypothetically.
And obviously, it's a lot more than that. You have to get a lot of people on board, more than just the filming crew.
Yeah, but on the ISS.
So we'll see. But Tom Cruise has said publicly that he wants to make a movie in space, or part of a movie in space at least. Yeah. We'll see.
But also, at the same time, it's Tom Cruise. He's going to do it anyway.
He's going to create his own, like, space company.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
I feel like when that boy gets into something, he'll get the stunt no matter what.
Yeah. True.
I mean, he learned to fly, like, crazy air, like...
Helicopters.
Helicopters and planes and motorcycles and cars and boats and shit like that. So it's just like, do we put anything past this man?
No. We shouldn't be.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the stunts for the movie, all of them are super cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and I guess now we can jump into spoiler. Well, No, we don't even have to, because the other stunts to mention are the train sequence where the train cars are falling off at the end. And then there's the paragliding. I think that's what that's called, right? Paragliding?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And then were those the three big ones? Am I missing any?
I mean, there's the car chase.
Oh, right, there's the car chase.
And then
I think
that should be it.
At least for the big action stunt set pieces. Those are
in terms ones. Of not like hand-to-hand like fighting, stuff like that,
which is also incredible in this movie.
Oh yeah, something that this series and John Wick do perfectly in spades.
So well. The one stunt that was my favorite and stood out most to me, because there was a lack of it in the trailer, and it was just so cool the way they set it all up, was climbing up the train cars as they were falling to the river.
Oh my god.
It's hard to put to words just how unique and coordinated and well set up this action sequence was. This stunt sequence. Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise are going through multiple train cars with different obstacles in them, because they're different train cars. One was a kitchen and had a bunch of like grease and stuff and flames from the stoves, and then you had one with a giant piano that could have fallen on them.
Yeah.
And I guess now we'll get into some light spoilers and eventually go full spoiler, so fair warning to anyone out there. I loved the way they kind of were hopping around the cars to avoid all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you gasped and you held your breath after every train car was about to fall off, because I think it happened 3 times, I believe. I think it went through 3 different cars.
Like that.
What I loved about that is it was more than just Tom Cruise. Haley Atwell was involved in that, and what they always talk about is getting their Tom Cruise's co-stars involved with the stunts and making them do. They always talk about how they kind of feel pressured into doing the stunts because Tom Cruise is doing them.
Yeah, fuck it.
So to see Haley Atwell's face along with Tom Cruise doing those was really cool. It felt there was an inclusion there, and it felt a little bit more than just it's Tom Cruise doing a stunt, which is incredible.
It's not just Tom Cruise jumping through train cars. It's Tom Cruise and someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it added another level to it. And made it more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd say that. Ooh, that's a bold statement. That was definitely one of my favorite sequences of the movie.
I'm not saying it's necessarily like the best stunt. I'm saying it makes it more interesting because
it's easily arguably like the most tense section of the movie, and like you know how it's all going to shake out, but like
of course,
I mean like there is something to it that like even though like they managed to make it so tense, and you're like, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah,
and you're like you're tensing up, and you're like, oh, this is actually just like well done, because it's managing to get me like anxious even though I know the result. Because I mean like most movies can't. No movies can do that now. I mean, like, I walk into Ant-Man, I'm not tense.
What are you talking about, TJ?
I'm not. I sit there and I'm like, ooh, big ant. And then I walk out of the movie and I'm like, wow, I didn't feel anxious at all for these characters.
Yeah.
I did in this movie. And I think that's just a testament to be like, it's a 2-parter. I still feel I'm gripping the chair and I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Yeah.
One thing too that was interesting was with that stunt, unlike the other ones, it had a very, as far as momentum and tense moments, it had a lot of, it would go up, down, up, down. Whereas with all the other stunts, it was simply just one hill to climb, and you were done. No matter how big the stunt was, it was always you started, you got your most tense moment, and then it finished.
Yeah.
But there were multiple high intensity moments in the singular stunt.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the things why that grabbed me so much.
Well, yeah,
is it kept coming at you. You were like, you would think, oh, they're done, right? No, no, there's another part.
There's more to do. There's a whole another 5 minutes of this scene. I mean, like, I think it's just a great. It was a good way to end an already tense final 30 minutes of a movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think the action of the movie just rocks, just in general. So like, it's hard. I mean, Mission Impossible's known for having really good action, no matter how good the movies are.
I mean, like we said at the beginning, Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise have fine-tuned a lot of the mechanics of the film, both with the stunts and with the storytelling.
Yeah,
they have it down to a science, as I was saying earlier.
They do.
We talked about hand-to-hand combat stuff earlier.
We did,
and I don't know if this one was your favorite, but we talked about the alleyway scene.
Yes, this is my favorite scene of this movie.
So good.
I loved this.
Yeah.
I mean, I love close quarters, stuff like that, and I love like the hand-to-hand fighting and stuff like that. But like the visceral nature of the fight is just like it's so good. And I mean, like, I like how it's just like it's three people and just in an alleyway fighting, and it's not like there's like 20 guys or anything like that. It's just like it's three people just duking it out, like very realistically. And I think it's just like the way the camera moves, the way that everyone's bouncing off of walls and shit like that. Like the lighting, the pacing of the fight. It grabbed me a lot more than the other fight going on, and I was just like, more of this, please.
They captured with that cinematography. They captured the claustrophobia really well.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's a tiny alleyway, and like I said, they're bouncing off of the walls, and I mean, trying to climb up and like out of the alleyway, and like it's just such a tense like 2 minutes or something like that, and it's just like. I mean, like, compared to the other action scene going on at that time, it's just like, for me at least, it grabbed me so much more.
It was shot much better.
I think, well, and I think it was just directed way better. Where it was like,
yeah,
like
that too.
The other fight, like, it was good, but like, comparatively, let's be real. Like, I feel like it's just like, you have Tom Cruise in an alleyway fighting, and then there's people with swords, and you're like, all right. Tom Cruise in alleyways taking this every day of the week. Even though, I mean, the sword fight is pretty cool, but
that's the thing is the actual. That's one thing I was going to follow up was I will admit the actual fighting itself of the other scene with Isla. I'm having some problems with that name.
Yeah,
Isla and Gabriel.
Yeah,
the actual fighting itself was
it's super cool
but
the way they shoot it is very different. And
it's one thing. I don't know if you noticed this. They didn't really want to go super close into that fight.
That's what I was just about to say.
They were always like way out from it.
It's always wide pans and stuff like that, and it was just like, I mean, I mean, you're cutting to another fight that is all close quarters, and then you're cutting to a fight that should be the same thing and the same kind of nature, but all it is just like shots from afar and being like, oh. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, probably like they didn't want to compromise stunt people too much in terms of like, I mean, with the other one is like you can hide stunt people better with shadows and stuff like that. With the other one, it's like it's all in lights, and I mean, it's not Tom Cruise that you're trying to hide and stuff like that. When
the thing is Rebecca Ferguson, I'm pretty sure she did do all her...
I bet she does do a lot of her stunts.
So that's also why I thought, why don't you just go in closer? She talks about in interviews how she trained to do all the sword fightings.
Yeah.
Why don't you...
And like you've been, in the last two movies, you've shown up close that she has full capability of doing action scenes like this.
We just watched the great fight scene between her and the kind of the henchman, the main henchman of...
Exactly. That is... the same kind of fight, but it is close quarters, and this should be a very close quarters intense sequence, and it isn't, which is something that annoys me. But
if you want to go even further, and maybe you're asking yourself out there, what makes a well shot fight sequence? Well, and so we kind of talked about that, right? Getting close, but one thing by adding that intensity for this is one particular example. There's the moment he does it a few times, and I think they shoot it in similar ways where Tom Cruise is trying to get over the fence, and they shoot it down low and tilt it up, so you don't see like who else is behind him trying to grab him right away, so you're not totally aware of who else is there, and that adds to that, franticness, and that tensity, and that mystery, and that worry that you have of who's are they back up? Are they about to like take him out?
Yeah,
and there was no mystery as to what exactly was going on between the fight between Isla and Gabriel, and I think that's just a piece of it, but. There's obviously a lot more.
Like I said, it's just they're two very different action scenes, and it's kind of a shame that they're happening at the same time because one is leagues and bounds better than the other one. It's just like, or at least like in execution, because I mean like the other one could be really cool, but it isn't. As cool.
Yeah, it isn't. While we're on the topic, I think this would be a good point to talk about Isla Fouts and her death. Because we're talking about the fight. And to have the scene, it's kind of interesting. To have such a pivotal scene, having such a disparity in the quality of that, the way it's shot, of that fight, compared to the alleyway scene is kind of a bummer. Because that is literally a crucial point in the film, obviously. Is Isla
Wrong actress.
Isla Faust dying. And I kind of needed a quick therapy session after the movie, because TJ was there for it.
I was.
Do you want me to get into this? Should I just get into this now?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. So, this is one of my problems with the film, is her death. Because it felt... To me... It felt kind of cheap. Because...
It doesn't feel cheap. It feels rushed.
It feels rushed. Okay, that's a better way to describe it. It did feel rushed. But I won't totally vacate cheap. But you're right. It's mostly rushed.
Yeah. I in my opinion, it is rushed.
Yeah. It's... Because also... Yes, we had screen time with her in other movies, but still, it felt like she just got into the movie, this one.
Well, I mean,
and then she dies.
She's not in Dead Reckoning much at all.
No.
And like you said, she's just became a mainstay in the series. So it was kind of like weird. It's like we hype up this character for the one whole movie, we use her for one, and then she's out of here in 10 minutes. In the next one, it was just like, what was the point of this? Like I get it. You could have just used her for one movie and then. Or like maybe just two, and then just outed her and until like part 2 or something, like, and then like bring her back. But like it did feel really cheap where they're just like we're bringing her in, she's gonna be this big character in the movie, and then she's gone in 10 minutes, and it's just like what's the point? Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm not also a big fan of whenever they do the Destiny garbage, where it's Tom Cruise's other love interest died, so that means this one has to die.
Yeah.
I just... Really?
For me, it didn't work in this movie.
No.
I mean, usually it can work, but like...
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, it depends on like the movie and like the circumstances.
Yeah.
But, because I mean, Destiny is a very broad topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really stupid. I thought like one of these people has to die. Because, and it's just like,
well, that is
the entire reasoning. I was like, are you serious? Like, I'm digging this whole section, but like, that is the stupidest reason I have ever heard for having to kill off a character. And it's just like, because the AI wants it. And it's like,
yeah, I know.
The AI doesn't know what's going on in the movie.
Yeah.
I think that's partially why I didn't have much of a reaction to her death. It's not that I didn't, but like, I mean, like in terms of like in this movie, she's not in it. that much.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah.
She shows up in the beginning, and then she shows up for like an hour later, and then she dies, and it's just like.
And they scripted. We just talked about they scripted for you before it even happens.
Yeah.
You already know.
Well, what they should have done was they should say, if you're in line with the destiny, whatever, someone dies. All you have to say, not one of these two characters, not or just like say something bad.
Someone close to Ethan Hunt's gonna die.
Exactly. That doesn't rule out Benji. That doesn't rule out Luther. It keeps it open. And, like, it would have made the sequence way more intense, especially since Benji is going out and doing his thing.
Yep.
That's actually what I expected to happen.
Oh, really?
Was, like, it wasn't actually going to be either of them. They were going to kill someone like Benji off.
Yeah.
Which I would have been very sad about.
Benji
is my favorite character.
I kind of had this revelation when we were watching Mission Impossible 5 just before this. His character growth and his progression throughout these movies is incredible.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, in the third one, he's, like, a side character.
He's in it for 10 minutes?
Not even.
He's
barely in 3. And he does, like, 2 things in the movie. He's in, like, 2 scenes. And then, like, they make him a main character. And then...
He evolved to literally doing action sequences.
Yeah, he's evolved from sitting at a desk in 3 to being a main star to doing, like, these crazy action scenes, too. Where it's just, like, I think he's had one of those, like, one of the best, if not the best progression of the series, where it's just, like...
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. And I think that is probably why he is probably my favorite, other than, like, he's a goofy nerd. And I think, like, all of his quips are super funny.
And
like,
you know a lot of those are Simon Pegg specials.
Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah, I love Simon Pegg to begin with. I think he's so funny. And
TJ, you've got red on you.
I do have red on me. And that's something I expected from this movie, was like, they're going to kill off Simon Pegg or Ving Rhames. I think when I walked in, I expected them to kill Ving Rhames more. Interesting. Yes. Well, I mean, he's more of a mainstay. He's been in since movie number 1.
He's the only, besides Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
It's him.
And I think that would have been a good way to build suspense into part 2, was to kill the other mainstay of the series. I mean, I think it would have been a very, like, I don't want to say logical move, but, like, it would have made sense. Yeah. In terms of writing. But I expected them to kill someone more mainstay than Rebecca Ferguson's character. Not to say that she wasn't a mainstay, but in the grand scheme, I guess.
The capstone, I guess, that I will bring to this sort of death conversation about Isla dying, or who should have actually died, or how they should have handled it, was, to me, I was heartbroken because her character is genuinely intriguing, and I loved the different flair that she brought to the group. Yeah. And because of that, to me, she had too much value to the franchise for her to die off, especially in that way.
Well, and the thing is, like, through the last few movies, they have built her up as kind of being, like, the new, I don't want to say love interest, but, like, character to be kind of like that role in the group. And then to kind of, like, to lean into that 15 minutes before, and then they're like, oh, she's dead. I guess we're not doing that anymore. It's like, what's the point? You've been writing this through line for 3 movies now. This makes sense. She should be the romantic interest, or a character, like I said, that fills that role. And then it just didn't make sense, in my opinion. And I liked her role in the group and stuff like that, but, like, I think it was one of those things where it's like, why? What's the point of this?
Mm-hmm. And the romance part was great too, but also too, TJ, it was cool that she didn't just fill that purpose, obviously.
Well, yeah, that's what I said like a second ago. I was like, she is more than that, but, like,
yes,
it is something they do lean into a lot, and it's just like, it feels obvious that you're going for this role. what harebrained scheme are you going for right now? Like, I don't, because you're obviously not going to replace her with Haley Atwell.
Which we should talk about in a second, because we haven't mentioned her much.
We haven't. I think we've mentioned her maybe once. I don't know. It boggles my mind a little bit, and I think that might be my biggest gripe with the movie.
Mm. Or is it the AI? I feel like you have a big issue with the AI.
No, I think this is worse than AI.
Really?
Yeah. Now that I think about
it. So you're talking about just to be clear, what specifically you're talking about? Isla Fisher's death? The whole thing surrounding that is what you're saying is your biggest issue?
The death of Rebecca Ferguson's character was probably my biggest gripe with the movie.
I just said Fisher again, bro.
Yeah. Not the actress. The character.
What is my problem?
Yeah. I will say, like, I think...
Let's take a break.
Those two tie for my biggest gripe.
The AI and
Rebecca Ferguson's character.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Maybe I should just say Rebecca Ferguson for the rest of the
Please do
podcast, because I can't. I have issues apparently.
Yeah, not Sacha Baron Cohen's wife.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I need some sort of some sort of correction therapy to fix me. So I don't have to say that anymore.
I gotcha.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have to say on that. I was, again, just disappointed, and I saw a really bright, interesting future with her. And
well, yeah, she seemed to be the biggest new up-and-coming character in the series.
I loved her relationship with Cruz. There are people that say that she doesn't have great chemistry with Cruz. I would argue differently, because
I'd say she does.
She does.
Yeah.
I specifically, you really see it in right from the beginning. We just watched Rogue Nation. I love the sort of facial expressions, body language that they kind of exchange between one another in all those scenes. It's really cool, and that's why it's up there for me. And again, we'll get to that at the end of the episode. We'll rank them. I think next we should talk about Haley Atwell, because we talked about that. We talked about that.
We haven't talked about her yet.
Talk about having chemistry. She and Tom Cruise hit it right off.
They do.
They are fantastic.
They're very funny together. Yes.
Debate, like, one of the best parts of the movie for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah. I really did like her addition to the cast. I think she was a mix of, like, super funny.
Yes.
I think she was just like, I think she just executed her role, like, really well.
She carried an action star quality that I thought she didn't have.
No, yeah. I definitely, like, I haven't seen her in much. I think the only things I've really seen her in is, like, stuff for Captain America and stuff like that.
I would say the same for me.
And, like, she's not bad in those stuff. Like,
no.
I've seen a little bit of Agent Carter, First Avenger. She's in Multiverse of Madness. She's decent in everything. She's actually pretty good in Agent Carter. I'll give her that.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't see her, like, headlining a Tom Cruise movie with him. And I will say she did pretty good. I'll give her that. She did all the stunts. She did all the stuff. I'm here for it.
And we teased it when we were discussing the train action sequence, the falling cars action sequence, stunt sequence.
Yeah.
She holds her own with him.
Yeah.
In all the scenes that she's in with him, she is holding her own, whether it's the acting, from the comedy perspective and the drama perspective and the action itself. She holds her own and has the funniest moments in the film. I think, for me, I laughed the hardest at where they're in the circle and they're trying to steer, and she's trying to steer the Fiat. Oh, and Palm Clementov helps with this too, but then Palm Clementov's reaction to
so good.
What they're doing, and
love it.
When Tom is trying to help Haley Atwell's character steer and directing her, and he's like, no, not that way, no, turn the wheel the other way,
funny.
Do this, and it's so funny. It is.
I love
and what's cool too is it's right off the bat. It does.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, pretty much their first exchange, you immediately recognize, wow, these two are going to work so well together for the rest of the movie. For how many other movies she's in, it's really not hard to identify that.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that was really nice about this movie was they kind of just introduced her. There wasn't like some big lead up where they're like, she's this character. She kind of just appears in scenes. I think that really helps her character. And this is something we talked about when we got right out of the theaters. Like that's something this movie does. It's just like for like the first like hour of the movie, they don't really explain who a lot of these new characters are. And I think especially with Haley Atwell, it's a benefit. And I like that she's like instantly charismatic and she kind of just appears, and then she's very committed to the role the whole movie. I don't think she has a true, like, really bad area in the movie, like, at all.
As far as her writing, her acting, and the scenes that she's in, I don't think there was one where I had a problem with it.
Yeah. She's consistently really good in the movie.
She is.
I was really here for it.
She is. Is there anything, TJ... Is there any... I guess we haven't talked about individual scenes. Is there any in particular... I mean... There's we kind of just talked about the car chase in Venice, right?
Rome.
Oh, Rome, right, in Rome.
Venice is the other city they go to with the party.
What I will add there with that chase, since we were kind of just talking about it, is it was interesting how they injected a lot more comedy into a high-level, high-volume, long action sequence. They don't normally do that in Mission Impossible movies. They do inject comedy into action, into larger action sequences, but not to that degree. It felt like almost every other line there was a comedy. There was a joke or a witty remark made during this sequence. What for any other movie would be the set.
Yeah, the finale.
The finale.
Yeah. That was... speaking of the car chase, I think, especially after watching Rogue Nation again,
which we should say has a great chase in that one as well.
I will say, like, and I pointed this out when we were walking out, the chase in the movie feels very different.
We're talking about Dead Reckoning right now.
Dead Reckoning, yeah. It feels very different. It's what I mean, like rewatching Rogue Nation, that chase scene is so tight and it's so well knit. It's everything about it is like it's so there's this like movement to it that I don't feel like Dead Reckoning has. I think Dead Reckoning, it felt more, I won't say processed, but it didn't feel as visceral. It didn't feel like if something crashed, I didn't feel it as much as I was feeling with that movie. And I think it was just like the way, I don't know, I think it may have been the editing, because it was very editing. The editing was very different. And,
that's the AI texting, by the way, TJ.
Oh, yeah.
TJ's phone just went off. It's the AI texting him. He's having a problem with TJ's comments on my computer. The AI is in my computer, or his phone, who knows. And it has a problem with TJ's comments it made towards it.
Yeah. But... I mean, I very much enjoyed the sequence, but it was just one of those things where I was watching it and I was like, maybe it's probably better on rewatch, but I was like, this feels very different. And I didn't feel like it had that tight-knit, like, intensity that some of these other action sequences had in the series. Even though, like I said, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's still phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, it like I said, just different feel, and I was just like,
I can't imagine the planning and the coordination
for something like that. Oh shit, I don't even know. But
because you obviously have you have to have all the stunt drivers driving hundreds of cars practically.
Yeah.
And to time it all right, and they're going through that big circle, I really don't want to think about it because it's just gonna mess my mind up. And that I'm glad we we pointed that out. I was going to go somewhere with that. I think I was going to add something. Oh, I think in that scene too, and again, I don't want to retract too much, but going back to seeing Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell in that scene, whenever you see great chemistry between an actor and two actors, two actresses, an actor and actress, they almost have this sort of, it's almost like they're doing this dance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You see this with, and I was just watching this movie recently with, I literally just watched it last night, Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny, who's
Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei. There are scenes in the courtroom where it almost seems like they're dancing around each other, and when she's up at the stand and things like that. Really good pairings and good chemistry. Well, it will seem like a dance, the way they kind of move around each other, interact with each other. And that was totally Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise in those scenes. The way they were kind of going through the passenger seats and when they were handcuffed together, it almost was this really cool dance.
Oh, absolutely.
Both with the vehicle itself when they were driving and then when they were handcuffed together and moving around. And in there, I mean, this can be said too for the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought her in. It's cool that they brought her in.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things I was going to... I still think it's unfortunate that they expanded the cast because I do think it lacks some personality and a personal touch.
Yeah.
Again, though the characters they did bring in worked
all the main characters
80% of the time. Yeah, except for Gabriel, which we talked about.
Yeah, and it's not that he was bad. It's just they didn't handle him right.
True. And he really isn't. He isn't technically part of the main group because he's the villain. So
yeah. I mean, the guy who plays Gabriel, he did a good job, like where he could. It's just like his writing was like few and far between, and like the plot didn't really know how to handle him.
Yeah, it largely wasn't. And largely it was not his fault. It was the writing and you said it, the writing and the placement.
Yeah, and I mean I liked Shea Wingham as like the cop. He was a fun little side character.
He's fun. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, like he wasn't amazing or anything, but
no.
I think he does that role super well. So I mean, like, I'm not surprised that you get a few laughs out of him. And I thought, Carrie Elwes was in it.
I know it was kind of interesting. He's kind of having a little run. He was also in Operation Fortune. I think.
Yeah, and he was in Stranger Things recently.
Yeah,
he was in season 3.
He's kind of having a little resurgence.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, I always like when actors or actresses who get bottled down and get sort of remembered for just one role, and that affects their careers going forward.
Yeah, he only had like 2 or 3 like big roles, if that.
Yeah,
he had like Men in Tights and stuff like that as
which also you could just see as a variation of Princess Bride because it's sort of fantasy, fantastical, that sort of thing,
fantasy comedy
type stuff.
It's by Mel Brooks this time. Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, and medieval.
Yeah,
and so to see him getting bigger other roles that are different than that is I'm glad to see. I always like when actors or actresses are able to do that.
Oh yeah, go him. I mean, I feel like he kind of disappeared for a while, but I mean, like he's coming back with a with a nice little like fiery.
Hey, and the 2 scenes he was in, especially that first one, it's an important scene for the movie, and he delivers.
I was gonna say both. He's only in like 2 or 3 scenes, like you said. I think he does a good little job in his little tiny role, which I was here for. But
what's nice about him is he has that charisma and is able to grab your attention with even with heavy like lots of dialogue. When it was sort of in the first scene he's in, it's basically like a backstory setup. It's a setup for the movie.
Yeah, but it's a long talking scene. There's not, and I think he carries it well. And I think the guy who plays
Kittredge.
Kittredge, that's the name. I was like, it's
who
not.
We should met. I mean, he's back.
Yeah, go Kittredge.
Yeah.
I was like, his name is not Kissinger. I swear to God, that's what I thought it was, and I was like, that's not it.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, Kittredge. I liked his return. I thought he was a really good re-addition back to the cast. Like they really expounded on his character and stuff like that, which was very fun.
his scene with Tom Cruise in the first Mission Impossible movie is still one of my favorites, and I think one of the best of the franchise.
Oh yeah,
the way it's shot, the eye contact, just the acting in general between the two,
and everything. Oh, beautiful,
incredible.
Yeah.
Easily some of the best dialogue and one of the best conversations of the entire franchise.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, should we start ranking?
I think that's a good idea. I don't want to leave anything out, but I think we did a pretty good job kind of covering everything.
Yeah.
We talked about the train stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's rank these movies.
All right.
Do you want to go from the bottom up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think the worst Mission Impossible movie is... Excuse me. I have to use this somehow.
Yes, we do.
I'm getting out the whiteboard for those that aren't watching, and plug if you would like to watch.
Okay, I was going to say, did you bring the pens?
Yeah, I brought the pencil.
Okay, good.
If you want to watch us rank these movies, please go to our YouTube channel under the same name as our podcast, and you can watch us rank these movies. What's the main color scheme for Mission Impossible is red, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. So I'll go with red.
Sure. I don't actually know.
We're going to go with red. Okay, that's good enough.
Fair enough.
All right. So let's do it this way, just in case, so we have extra.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So
there's 7 of them.
C.
Okay, 7,
6,
5.
Do you just draw an S?
Okay. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Got it.
That looks a lot more like a 5.
4,
3,
2,
1.
Okay. All right. I think I don't know if I said this, but because I was so focused
we hadn't said.
Yeah. I think the worst Mission Impossible movie is Mission Impossible Dos.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a hot topic. How
do you do it? Isn't it M? Isn't
M-I.
it M:I, or is it M I
colon I because it's mission.
Right.
I think like Codename Impossible. Dos.
Gosh, I'm having problem writing numbers.
Yeah,
There we go.
I enjoy Mission Impossible 2 because it is dumb. And
hopefully, can they see that?
I can't tell.
I probably maybe should have got a darker color.
I can't tell.
I can't tell either.
It's too far away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this is a test run, I guess.
Yeah. We'll figure it out
for
later.
future references.
Yeah.
But that says Mission Impossible 2 at the bottom.
That it does.
Go ahead, TJ. I interrupted you,
Mission Impossible 2. It's dumb. But I think that's kind of why I like it. Or at least I find it enjoyable. I think it is one of those movies that gets better the longer it goes. The first half of the movie is really stupid. And it's really... It's super, like... The dialogue is awful. It has no charm. It's kind of hard to watch at times. But with the last half, when like all the action comes out and it kind of just becomes Tom Cruise in a Chinese Hong Kong action movie shootout, that shit becomes awesome. I stand by that 100%.
Okay.
I love the shootout in the lab. I think that's... Nah, I'm not going to say that.
Ooh, TJ was about to do some hot takes here, I think.
I was going to say that might be one of my favorite Mission Impossible action scenes. That plus the motorcycle chase at the end. Oh my god. I love it so much. And like the knife fight at the end. So cool. That's how you make a knife fight, Mission Impossible. Look to the second movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the writing for the movie's kind of ass. Actually, it's not kind of ass. It is ass. It's bad. But like, it's one of those things where it's like it becomes more enjoyable the more you watch it. And I think like it doesn't deserve hate, yeah. But like I said, it's very enjoyable for what it is.
I mostly agree with what you said, though. When I rewatched it, one of my first instincts was that type of action, to me, does not work for Mission Impossible.
Oh no,
movie.
it really doesn't. But I think it's fun to see Tom Cruise do it.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah, the movie's already the black sheep of the series. It doesn't. At this point, no one remembers this movie. So like, I feel like they could have done whatever with it, and I would have been kind of here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see more John Woo movies.
Oh yeah, they finally put Hard Boiled on, like, available to rent. I'm so excited because you couldn't rent it for years.
Oh really?
And I was like hell bent on watching it like 3 years ago. Couldn't watch it. Now I can.
TJ's hyped.
Hell yeah.
After a while, the slow-mo kicking kind of got a little
Okay, yeah, that shit is
annoying, and it. I'm all for directors getting opportunities at directing franchise movies.
Oh yeah.
And it was I loved that Tom Cruise got John Woo to do this movie. Yeah. I love that part of it. And as TJ pointed out, if the writing was better, I'm sure we'd be talking about this movie in a much different light, because the writing is a big issue. Like, probably the biggest issue with this movie. Again, that being said, I still took an issue with... There were just...
It's a very bizarre...
It went a little too much with some of the slow-mo kicking.
Oh, well, yeah, that's John Woo for you.
Right. Which I'm sure works great in his other movies. It's just...
Yeah.
It just... I don't know. It didn't quite fit with Mission Impossible.
I think that's just a problem with bringing Hong Kong, like, Chinese... action directors to America.
Right.
It never translates well because it is so its own thing.
Yeah.
That, like, it can be cool. I mean, like, John Woo, he made Face Off. The movie's a classic. And, like, stuff like that. But, like, yeah, it's so its own style that, like, it'd be like if America tried to do Bollywood in some ways.
I like that comparison. That's a good one.
Not like all the way comparison, but like that
is TJ. Did you not hear that?
No.
Oh.
Anyway,
you got an applause.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know.
Okay. But like it's one of those stylistic things where it's like you can't really replicate it as well.
Yeah.
As you would hope. But I mean, like there's some like cool touches. Like I like Hans Zimmer attempting to do a Mission Impossible.
He was in that. That was his score.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's new to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like there's like some weird like cool little things about the movie, but like it's definitely the worst. That's not hard to say.
Well, and we should say that this is most likely the movie that made Tom Cruise grapple on to Christopher McQuarrie because
and J.J.
Abrams because he realized or whoever realized that
the series had no direction without it.
Yes, it needed to be in more stable and consistent hands through multiple episodes.
But also
multiple movies.
Yeah. The rock climbing thing at the beginning, that shit rips.
Facts.
That is probably one of my favorite Mission Impossible scenes also.
Him jumping from like that one part of the rock face to the other was, and when he does the hang.
Oh, it's so good.
The canyon.
Yeah.
Is really cool.
It's super cool.
Good shout out.
Yeah.
All right. 6.
3.
Yeah, I'd agree. Let's put that down. M.
Sadly.
Colon.
I.
3. Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes.
We kind of talked about the biggest highlight already, which is, of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I love that man.
He, again, greatest character actor of his generation. The count to 10 scene that they open with, that's in the cold open, and then they obviously show again, has... Philip Seymour Hoffman got out of Tom Cruise some of his best acting of the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh my god,
that scene with him, because... And I was interested. I wanted to see if we got any of that with Tom Cruise in this latest one, because obviously Isla Faust.
Yeah, you did it.
I raised my hands in celebration, guys, because I got it right. I wanted to see how he reacted to her death, because Tom Cruise can act. He's been nominated for multiple Oscars and is a legitimately great actor when he wants to do it.
Yeah,
he just has been doing Mission Impossible movies for the last 2 decades, pretty much.
Yeah. He's an action star now.
Yes, and he also should have won for Jerry Maguire, but that's another conversation.
Hell yeah,
that's another conversation for another day.
I love that movie.
But yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman got some of Tom Cruise's best acting of the entire franchise,
absolutely,
out of him, and the command that Hoffman brings to the movie is almost becomes a threat itself. In the film, because we talked about how it's unfortunate that the writing for his character isn't great as far as like actually giving him a backstory and why he's doing the things that he's doing.
Yeah, it is a blessing and a curse where it's just like we know he's a big bad villain and whatever, but also I mean like something please.
But where I was going with that was he still manages to hold a threat because of his presence, and his presence.
It doesn't matter,
yes,
like how they write him. Philip Seymour Hoffman is, like I said, a phenomenal actor. He's going to hold his own in any situation. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. It's one of those. I think it's the one I watched most recently before going into Dead Reckoning, which I watched maybe last year. And I had a fun time rewatching that movie. I love the action. I think it's very...
The bridge scene is great.
Oh, I think my favorite sequence from that movie is the part where they're breaking into the place in China to get the rabbit's foot. And then he slides down the thing and then it cuts out and like you don't see what's going on, but it's so tense and you're like, whoa, what's going on? I think that is... And then like the whole like escape is so cool. Mm-hmm. And that's easily my favorite section of the movie in terms of like action.
Yeah.
But I think it was a fun not reinvention, but like it was a good way to like bring the series back on track to what it would eventually become. And I think like J.J. Abrams did a good job making something new of the series. That like, and kind of like I said, putting it back on that track and like introducing new characters and ideas and stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Simon Pegg, obviously, being the main character, the big piece that JJ brought in for
rest of the
characters.
Series.
Yeah,
him, Simon Pegg, and then is it Michelle Monaghan, who's the wife? Yeah,
We'll mention that. I love that piece.
Of it too. Yeah, that is a great subplot.
It brought humanity to Tom Cruise's character,
exactly,
and you felt like he had a life.
Yeah. Life outside of doing missions and stuff like that.
And so you felt there were also greater stakes with that as well.
Oh, yeah. Makes, like I said, the count to 10 sequence so much better.
Oh, my gosh. Dude, you get hit with... They hit you with that the first scene of the movie because that's the cold open.
So good. I want to rewatch that movie.
Dude.
I really do.
We should say, that movie is worth it alone because of that scene.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so freaking good.
Yeah. It's sad that it is as low as it is because it is a good movie. I really like that movie.
There's really, and you can agree, disagree, TJ. For me, the main problems are the middle of this movie.
Yeah.
And, again, what we've been talking about, some of the writing with the villain.
Ooh.
And
also the ending, like the ending action sequence where he's running through, what is it, like, is it Indonesia or something like that?
Where he's running on the rooftops, right?
No, he's like running on like along a river, and then they meet up in like the hospital, like the really rundown hospital, and there's the shootout in there. That whole section rips. It's so good.
That's true too.
I love it so much.
I love how she has to get the thing out of his brain to stop to fry the thing in his brain. She has to shock him.
So good. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching this movie soon.
Right. I love it. It. All right. Now it's gonna slowly get trickier and trickier. So 5. Let's just tease it a little here. So contestants for 5 could be Mission Impossible 4. It could be this latest Mission Impossible movie. It could be, I don't know, I think we might have different opinions here, TJ. What would your number 5 be? I think... I'm not saying this is official. I really think it could be Mission Impossible 7.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Yep. I really think it could be. I really think it could be.
Yes, I was like, as sad as it sounds, I think that might be where it is.
And to be clear, you just listened to us. We think it's a good movie.
Oh, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
It's just we talked about the issues that it has.
Yeah. I think it's not as tight as some of the other ones. Even though it is a part 1, it is it's just...
Well, another thing, too, is it could be interesting. Our opinions could very well change after seeing part 2.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It was like, it's part 1, so, like, that may be part of the reason why it's not as tight at the moment.
Oh,
but, like...
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully they can see that.
Hopefully. I still can't tell.
I think they can, barely.
Yeah, probably.
There you go.
But, yeah, I'm excited to see how it all shakes out after.
Yeah. Oh, whoops.
But...
Yeah. All right. Obviously, we've talked about that movie quite a bit this episode, so I don't think we need to...
Oh, shit. This is...
Now it's going to get hard.
Oh.
I think number 4 is Ghost Protocol, so 4. As far as Mission Impossible 4 is concerned, I think it has the best stunt still, which is the Burj Khalifa climb.
Yeah.
You really, really feel like... I mean, you feel like you're there for a lot of the Tom Cruise stunts, because they're obviously all real, but that one especially, I really felt like I was there with him. And so I still think it's the best stunt of the franchise, but I like the pieces of the other 3 movies that we have left more.
Yeah, I think this movie is really tight, and I think it's very... I think it is the first official movie to really reinvent the series. Or, like, put it on the path that it is now. I think Brad Bird does a good job directing it, even though he usually doesn't do live action. And I think, like, it's a fun movie. I think my problems are, it's a very forgettable villain.
Yes.
I think
that's a great point.
That's probably my biggest gripe with the movie, is it's the villain's really forgettable.
I literally watched this movie less than 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't tell you much about it.
No, I just remember Leah Seydoux a villain at one point.
Yes, she is. That's true.
I remember her more than the actual villain. And I remember she gets kicked out a window.
That shit
rips.
That was cool.
That whole sequence is really cool.
They're again great fight sequences. Who knew?
Yeah, and I like the addition of Jeremy Renner in that movie.
That's a great point, and I'm going to talk about him when we talk about Rogue Nation 2.
Yeah,
But we know what TJ you brought up, so let's get into it. Because Jeremy Renner's an interesting addition to the franchise because he rivals Tom Cruise in a lot of ways. He kind of holds a similar place and can do similar things that Cruise can do as far as sort of like a leading agent of the group.
Yeah.
Obviously, he doesn't do the crazy stunts like Cruise does, but...
He has that presence.
And he butt heads. His character butts heads with Ethan Hunt. Mm-hmm. More than any other character in the franchise ever did, and that's what I love about his character so much.
Yeah,
to me it always seemed like, it's nothing against Luther or anything, but it was always let's all listen to Ethan Hunt. It's Ethan. Well, they do. The whole group does this, but it's all Ethan Hunt. It's Ethan Hunt's plan. He's right 100% of the time. No one challenges him.
Yeah, Luther is always there, but he's always the side man. He's always like Tom. He's always like the number one supporter of Ethan Hunt, and I'm like that's not a bad thing, but like there's no like crazy depth to it.
Yeah, he actually challenges Cruise,
exactly,
which is refreshing.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like Jeremy Renner. I would be interested to see if they did like eventually bring him back or something like that, because he kind of just disappears in these movies. I
feel bad for him, man. Between Bourne Legacy and this, he basically was promised, hey, you're gonna basically take over or be a big piece,
a leading man
in these action franchises, and
two of the biggest action franchises ever.
And then he's just gone.
Well, yeah, I think he had to quit Mission Impossible because he was shooting some other movie.
I think Avengers.
Yeah, I think it was a Marvel movie
for Fallout.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, like they haven't like officially like said anything about him, so like he could totally just show up in Part 2 of Dead Reckoning.
Well, he was on the cast for Dead Reckoning Part 1, like originally.
They should bring him back.
I know.
I'd be interested.
It's cool because he actually challenges Cruise.
Yeah, and I think like he'd be a fun addition to bring back just in general, because I think he has such a good presence on screen. Not just like, in the sense that like he challenges Cruise, but like the way he bounces off of everyone else as well. Like the way he bounces off of Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames, and I think how he could bounce off of Haley Atwell and so like some of these other people, like I think would be very fun to see him finally make a return. That because like I said, they haven't officially said anything about him. They haven't been like, oh, he was killed in the field, or oh, he retired, or something like that. Like they straight up have not mentioned him. They mentioned the person who rivals Alec Baldwin more in Fallout than Jeremy Renner. Mm-hmm. In the sense that they put a picture of the person who challenged Alec Baldwin in the background of a scene in Dead Reckoning. Because she's now the president. It's the black lady. I can't remember her name.
Oh. Yeah.
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 They mention her more than Jeremy Renner, and it's not even she's not even in a line of dialogue.
That's true. Yeah, I guess the last thing I'd say about Renner, and obviously we should move on, is I would also just want to shout out that he is, as far as actors are concerned, he's one of the safest hands in Hollywood. There hasn't been a single role where I thought, Renner isn't ready for isn't quite for this role. There was I have never in all the movies I've seen with him.
He's always very capable. He can act when he's doing a more dramatic thing. He can hold his own in blockbuster films, whether if he's more of a front man or a supporting character. He can do it all in some ways. And I just kind of wish that Hollywood would do more with him in some ways.
Yeah.
I feel like he gets forgotten about, especially now.
Okay, let me write this down here. Now it's just slowly getting harder and harder and harder. And that is on the board. Yeah. Mission Impossible 4. Okay. So, we have Mission Impossible Fallout, which is the 6th movie. We have the entry into the franchise, Mission Impossible, directed by Brian De Palma, out of all people. And then we have Rogue Nation at the 5th Mission Impossible movie. Mm-hmm. So, TJ already... I don't think I've said this on the podcast. TJ knows what my number 1 would be. Mm-hmm. But we'll save that, because we're at 3 here. So, and I don't know where TJ would put my favorite, or what I think is the best. In my opinion, I think 3 is Fallout.
I'd have to agree.
Okay. Wow, this is going well. This is going well so far. So I will say, the reason I have...
6.
Thank you. I can't write numbers. That's good enough. The reason... I guess I can't speak and write at the same time. I have problems, I guess. The reason I put 6 here, and obviously, TJ, you can say your reasons too, and put the first Mission Impossible and Rogue Nation above it, is it falters from some of the issues, a little bit of the issues, that the 7th one does, which is the cast is getting bigger. And
I don't mind it as much in Fallout.
Oh, okay.
I personally don't, at least.
Yeah.
I think the cast, in terms of like being big, I think that is the perfect amount.
Okay.
Where it's like it has big names in it, but a lot of them don't really do anything. Like Alec Baldwin's in it. He's in the movie for like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That. Same with Vanessa Kirby. She's big. She's in it for 5 minutes. And I think all the big names are really balanced well.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't think it's overstuffed. I think it is, in terms of not staffing, casting, I think it's the best, maybe the best balanced movie.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would challenge that with the other movies to come, but I can see that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of these movies in a while.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing. Is like I'm like banking off of like 3-year memories for like Mission Impossible 4, and I'm like probably actually longer for that.
I would actually I would agree, TJ. I think I would retract that statement. I would, because I think you're right. Because they're not, even though the cast is expanded, the ones that do get into it aren't in it as long as the newer editions of this latest one. So I can retract my statement. I'll retract my statement there. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
You know what I will say about this one? The the final act gets a little weird from the standpoint of bringing Michelle Monaghan back into the fold. That is one issue I did have.
Really?
Because it was like...
okay, yeah, actually, I get where you're coming from.
He moved on from her, and the whole kind of franchise moved on from her.
Yeah.
So to bring her back after we've kind of already set up, also bringing in someone like Rebecca Ferguson that kind of replaces that love relationship anyway, I feel like you didn't have to include her and that piece, which did take up a chunk of the finale, to make the finale tense, and I feel like that was just kind of a speed bump. I
didn't hate it. I feel neutral about it.
Okay.
Or like it does add some sort of like, hey, we have like acknowledged the fact that like the series has come a long way, and this is a character from its past and like stuff like that. And I think that was an interesting idea. And I think it does add like a nice like layer to the finale where it's like, oh, there's someone who's kind of helping out who does know what the hell they're doing. And it's not like she does that much in the finale. She kind of just stands around with Luther.
True.
And she kind of just like, hey, I'm helping, right?
Yeah.
And Luther's like, no, not really.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. But like, it's not, but at the same time, like you said, it's like they didn't have to do that.
No.
It's a weird
well, it's
mix.
just to me it just comes out of left field.
It does come out of left field.
Because all of a sudden
they don't mention her at all through the movie. And the last two, well, they show her at the end of Ghost Protocol, but
yeah, but it's just
Jesus,
throwing things.
You're so aggressive, it's scaring me.
Be careful! I'll throw this marker at you.
Oh God.
Because they introduce her. They don't introduce her actually at the village, right? They introduce her because John Walker shows a photo, or his name's or Henry Cavill's character, August.
Oh, John Locke?
John Locke, but I think his actual name's August something.
I don't remember.
Either way, Henry Cavill's character just randomly shows Tom Cruise's character a photo in that chase because Cavill's in the elevator.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Cruise
do that.
Cruise is hanging on, and he's just randomly like, "Don't come after me. I'm the guardian of your ex-wife." Or whatever.
I do remember.
And he just shows her and he just shows him a photo, and as an audience member, at least to me, I was like, "Wait, what?
Yeah,
that's a thing now."
Yeah, that does come out of left field, where it's just kind of like, oh, I guess.
Yeah,
and I get the thing that like at the end of 4, or at the end of 3 and 4, where she's essentially like she's trying to be down low, and he's trying to protect her from afar in like some ways, but like same time, like you could have mentioned her one time in the movie at least, where it was like, oh, I really hope my ex-wife is doing good.
Yeah.
And then that would have, I don't know, built a little more stake to it. But considering, there is no reference to her character's existence in the movie. I mean, we know she exists, but it is very, very much just like, oh, that's the thing. Why?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. But I mean, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I still think it's a great movie.
I think Fallout is probably the most, like, I think it's just a nice, simple action movie. I think it's very, like, you don't have to think too hard. No. It's so well put together. You're going to enjoy yourself no matter what. Like, the action's cool. It's very straightforward. The story isn't too convoluted. You're going to have a fun time.
The group chemistry in Mission Impossible 6 and Rogue Nation, the 5th one, premium stuff right there. That absolutely. Is as good as it gets in all the movies in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The way they're all working around each other and the dialogue between them, it doesn't get better.
Oh no, it's that I think that is premium as of late.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Oh, we kind of talked about this already. Henry Cavill, fantastic.
Great
in the
villain.
Movie.
Oh yeah.
He is a top 3 villain for me at least, because Hoffman, Sean Harris, and him.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think honestly, it's those 3 and then everyone else. Actually,
yeah, at least for like main villains, I'd say like
yeah.
Yeah,
John Voight's pretty good in the first one.
He is,
but I still think it's those 3.
Yeah.
And the Halo jump is
awesome.
So cool. I wish they didn't use CGI.
Did they?
Yeah, because the lightning, the thunder.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You're bringing this authenticity to this Halo jump, and that's one thing that's really cool is when you're specifically looking at the environment around him and realizing, oh, that's actually the Burj Khalifa. That's actually whatever.
I don't even remember that.
To have the thunder and the lightning storm, because remember, that's what knocks sort of Cavill off his oxygen, and that's why.
Oh yeah, I remember like he gets struck by lightning, but I definitely didn't like retain that it's CGI.
Well, I mean, they didn't want to actually Halo jump in.
Well, no, I mean like
lightning.
Well, I mean like I didn't. I mean yeah, but like I didn't retain that like it was like
that much CGI.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean like they could have just used like something like like lights or something like that to like get the basic idea of it.
Yeah. So to have that layer on it was a little unfortunate, but still obviously a ridiculously cool stunt.
Yeah.
And
the way it's shot is so cool.
The way it's shot is so cool. How he had to have the cameraman 3 feet from him, Tom Cruise, as he was.
Oh yeah, jumps out the plane backwards. Have you seen the video of how they filmed that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Where the cameraman's back on his going down
that
back first.
So cool. Yeah.
Really cool. There's a lot of things we could say about the movie, but we should probably continue on. I think that's kind of the main stuff.
Okay, this is where it gets really hard for me.
Okay. Oh, I also will shout out the way he gets his mission, which is, I believe it's the Odyssey book, and it flips open, and it's like a little film thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think I have my answer.
Okay, hold on. I got to prepare myself for this.
Okay.
Or if I want to say anything before you give me your answer. Okay. What do you want to do?
I think for my number 2, it's probably Rogue Nation.
Okay. All right. So this is where we differ,
ladies
and gentlemen. So I think Rogue Nation is the best Mission Impossible movie. So we can do. I don't like to argue with my buddy, but we'll do some light. Let's do some light. Why do you have that order?
Okay.
Give me some big points if you can, or if they're only small stuff, then that works too. What differentiates them for you, as far as making Mission Impossible the first one better?
I don't know. For me, it's just like, at least in my mind, I'm like, the first Mission Impossible is just so good. I think there's this like energy to it that's just like I feel like it's such a crisp movie. It's that's a hair. That's really annoying me. And I love like the progression of the movie. I love that it's like I don't even know. Shit. Like,
well, what I will say is what I really liked about the first one was it is a lot darker.
It is
than the other ones.
Yeah,
because literally his whole team dies.
Yeah,
in the first
not Emilio Estevez
10 minutes.
Yeah,
and that is genuinely cool because you haven't been with the character long, but you really feel like he is on his last leg and is in desperation mode, and it's a bold thing to do. Just immediately killing off his entire team, and it immediately adds stakes to the
killing off like 2 or 3 A-listers right off the bat.
Yes. And then I think it has the best stunt. It still has the... Oh, wait. Never mind. I said the best stunt with the Burj Khalifa. I need to correct myself. I still think the best stunt... Well, depends how you classify this, I guess.
I was going to say, I think it's probably more sequence.
Sequence.
Yeah.
The best sequence, to me, in any Mission Impossible movie is when they break into the CIA headquarters.
I think for me, that is probably the crowning moment that I think probably puts it on top for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love the opening. I love breaking into the CIA. I love, I love the, what's his name? John Reno?
Yes.
Whatever his name is. As a villain, I think John Voight, he's not the best villain of the series, but I think he's very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I like that. Like, I just like the Tom Cruise's presence in the movie. I feel like it's a little different than some of the other ones. Yeah, like I said, this is another one I haven't seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. I probably haven't seen the first Mission Impossible since I saw the fourth one, so probably since like 2019.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, I think for me it's just like nostalgia.
That's fair.
I mean, I can't remember the first time I absolutely watched Mission Impossible, but I watched it pretty young, like when I was like 9 or something, and I remember that movie blew my little mind, and I was like, this movie rocks. And, I mean, like that's something I haven't had with. I mean, Fallout was kind of this way, where it was like, but Fallout was like a theater experience, where, I mean, I have this feeling that I get when I watch Mission Impossible 1 that like not a lot of other movies can replicate, where it's just like just sitting on my couch, just in front of a big TV, watching Mission Impossible. I love it.
So, if I can provide a counter argument,
I don't care. Go for it.
I think why, and I should say I am definitely in the minority here, because usually when we're talking about the best Mission Impossible movie, a lot of people boil it down to Fallout and the first one, is what I see a lot.
I always see Fallout.
Really?
Especially now. Everyone and their mom loves Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, well, yeah.
I think Letterboxd score. Well, actually, I think the highest. No, so as far as Letterboxd scores, I think it's now a tie between. Wait, no, I think
it's a tie between Dead Reckoning and Fallout. I'll check.
Okay, you check while I. So, the reason why I would put Rogue Nation above the first one is right off the bat a couple of things. The aesthetic of it, I think, is better, and the chemistry between all the actors in Rogue Nation is better than the chemistry between all the actors in the first one. Now, it doesn't need it as much because it isn't quite the ensemble that Rogue Nation is, but still. What I mean by aesthetic, I mean they have whether it's the technology aesthetic or I guess primarily that, and the way they do the whole mission sequence, if you should you choose to accept it, the cinematography I like more I think is better in Rogue Nation than the first one. And I guess that would be the main things I like more. What this one has, I guess it's also stuff that plot-wise that this one's able to do that the first one isn't able to do. I'll say that as well.
Well, yeah, the first one was, I think, very much more intended to be a one-off than, like, the catalyst to this crazy action franchise. So,
because what I love about Rogue Nation is what I've kind of already... is the mixture of a personal plot with... worldwide worldwide, what do I want to say here? Consequences. And
it feels
more, I guess that's how I would say that. Because you get the personal touches with Isla Faust, bingo, and Ethan Hunt, their chemistry and their dynamic throughout the film. And then obviously just the chemistry that all the leads have with each other, and the dialogue they have with each other, and then but while still having that, if we don't do this and we don't get this mission done, the whole world could be screwed over because you have this syndicate that's running wild. Yeah, I think that's why I definitely like it more, and I think it's better. I think overall, it's a smoother movie, because I do think there are a couple of hiccups in the first one.
Yeah, I'd say maybe even 6 is a smoother... 6 is actually a smoother movie than...
That's actually a good point.
I'd say 6 is actually smoother than 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's actually probably true. I will, for the sake of still being friends, I'm just kidding, I will grant you this one. We'll put Mission Impossible, the first one, first, and we'll put Rogue Nation second.
I don't care. You already put 4 at 4. Go for it. I don't care.
What did you have it?
Well, I don't know. I was neutral for that one, so I was just like, you're already spearheading this already.
No.
Okay, real quick. Letterboxd has a 2 at the bottom with a 2.6. 3 has a 3.3. 1 has a 3.6. Rogue Nation has a 3.7. Same with Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
Dead Reckoning has a 3.9. Same with Fallout.
Okay.
But average, it goes. That's the way it goes.
To me, TJ, they're so close. For me, personally, 5 and the first one are so close, I'm fine with them going either way.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wanted to explain why I thought why you're wrong, TJ. Just kidding.
Oh. But
you are wrong. I'm just kidding. But you are wrong. Anyway.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Here's our list. Hopefully you guys can see that. Again, this camera screen's so far away I can't tell. But hopefully you can see that. There are our rankings for the Mission Impossible movies. We are patiently waiting for Dead Reckoning Part 2. We have no idea when it's going to come out. No. It says it's slated for June. Considering the writers and actors strikes, I highly doubt that. And also when you add on to the fact that Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie might do part of it in space, I doubt it. But
it's just like Spider-Verse, where it's like who knows at this point.
Yeah. Luckily, we are patient people here at the Manic Movie Misfits podcast, so we can wait. And the wait will just make it even sweeter when it does come.
Yeah.
With that being said, TJ, I mean, you're excited for Dead Reckoning Part 2. I'm excited for Dead Reckoning Part 2. I will be honest, if people want to take me out in the comments for saying this, so be it. I think Isla Faust should come back. Just saying. It's not like they haven't done stuff similar before in the franchise. They actually have. They've done similar things where you think characters are dead and they have come back.
Yeah.
Specifically John Voight, but that was actually, John Voight. That did happen.
Yeah.
Now, he, of course, planned the whole thing, his character did, but still, nonetheless. Well, actually, but here's, okay. This is my coping mechanism, okay, guys, just so you know. I was telling TJ about this, okay? This is my coping mechanism for trying to come to terms, but also not coming to terms with Isla Faust's death. I think that they planned this whole thing. Because here's the thing, right? There was the whole Destiny stuff, where one of the two had to die. And obviously, Ethan Hunt knew this.
Yeah.
So he thought, okay, we should fake Isla Faust's character's death so they don't have to worry about her. And then she comes back in Dead Reckoning Part 2.
You're in denial.
I'm serious. It could actually happen.
This is a fictional character.
I'm just saying. Okay. You know. We'll end this here before I break down. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this actually nice lengthy episode. We appreciate you spending the time with us.
Yeah.
Next episode, we don't know. It probably will be Oppenheimer. Probably we'll talk about Oppenheimer. Barbenheimer. Yes, we are going to do. We might as well do both in one episode because we want just so we can call the episode Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Just because. So look forward to that. And again, thank you for listening or watching. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Manic Movie Misfits podcast. Peace.
Toodaloo.